Well, we meet again. Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of In the Car with Star, the home edition. I am Sean Starr, your host. You can find us, of course, on youtube.com, Facebook / In the Car with Star. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter. So online whenever you need us, whenever you want us. In the Car with Star is with you. And I'm happy to be with you on this Friday. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm waiting for my guest to arrive. Eric Macramella, my Egyptian prince, is expected to join us. And he's running a bit behind schedule, but that's fine. We're going to move ahead and proceed as usual, as we always do here. Let me see if I can just get a little bit better lighting as we're running a little bit behind schedule. So, yeah, good to be with you on In the Car with Star in the aftermath of the Montreal Canadiens coming up again on the wrong side of a 5-3 scoreline. But I got to tell you, man, the Montreal Canadiens are a little bit more engaging, a little bit more dynamic for my liking anyway. I'm curious what your perspective was, as the Canadiens have reached now a new low this season. They've played 14 games, and they're on their longest losing winless skid of the year at 5 in a row. And that came last night in Newark, New Jersey. But compared to some of the other losses that we've experienced, that we've watched this season, that perhaps have left you with this frustrated taste in your mouth and this bitter aftertaste, I don't know. Not so much for me yesterday. I like the jam they had. And listen, let's tackle what I believe is the biggest issue facing the Montreal Canadiens in this now, what is year 3 of the new regime's rebuild. And I understand superstar talent is a major issue and they don't have it. Fine. Everybody knows that. And not every team in the National Hockey League has a superstar upper echelon talent. But the biggest issue facing the Montreal Canadiens through 14 games this season is the lack of secondary help. It's the biggest issue. The Montreal Canadiens are learning, as we spoke about earlier this week, they're learning the job while doing the job in real time. Okay, that's part of the rebuild. But what seems to be a massive issue, and I don't know, I don't think I have the brightest hockey IQ to figure this out for you. But one of the biggest issues is the lack of pick a teammate up, realize that they've left their positioning, realize that they're out of sync because they tried to do something else, and now they've been exposed. And it happens all the time. It happened multiple times in the 5-3 loss to New Jersey. And let's be honest, they were kind of in that hockey game. When I thought, after New Jersey made it 2-0 after 20 minutes, I said, oh my God, here we go. It's going to be a steamroll extravaganza. This team is going to get run the bleep over by Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt and the New Jersey Devils and Jonathan Kovacevic, former Montreal Canadian great. But that didn't happen. The fight was there, okay? But how do you fix the biggest issue related to the Montreal Canadiens? That when Jack Hughes gains entry into the zone, this guy is like a walking, skating magnet. The magnetism that Jack Hughes has, his gravitational pull, is the strongest force on planet Earth today. Did you realize how many Montreal Canadiens just got pulled into his orb? How many? To the point where Brad's just there by himself. All you got to do, brother, is put that blade on the stick. Jack Hughes is going to find you. Boom, it's 1-0. And then they leave with a 2-0 lead, and I thought, here we go. Let the avalanche of goals hit San Montebo. He's going to get buried again. And I wondered even at one point, man, is he even going to play the rest of the game? But to his credit, he came up big throughout the game numerous times, and the rest of the team started to pick themselves up to the point where, again, the biggest issue hurting the Montreal Canadiens cost them the hockey game. What happens in the third period where Montreal's playing catch-up? Brendan Gallagher scores his 6th goal of the season. Man, isn't it great to see Brendan Gallagher kind of find his previous form? Gallagher is on pace, you guys, for 30 goals this season. And they're in an interesting spot. Having veteran presence on the team versus bad contracts handcuffing you financially on the team. Welcome to the Brendan Gallagher world. But after Brendan Gallagher cuts the deficit, now the Canes are back in it. It's 3-2. They're on the road in New Jersey. They're playing with a little bit more pace, okay? And we'll talk about the top line and what's going on. But did you realize where Lane Hudson was after Emil Heineman missed the net with a puck on his stick? In close on Jacob Markstrom yesterday. Where was Lane Hudson? I'm waiting. He was down by the crease, by the post of Jacob Markstrom. And what happens? Boom! Goes the other way. And now the Montreal Canadiens are playing catch up and they can't seem to get it back together. And that, my friends, is the biggest issue that hurts the Montreal Canadiens. And I got to tell you, got to leave Sam Montembeault alone. This is not a Sam Montembeault issue. Like, if you believe Sam Montembeault, and I guess that's where I come from. Sam Montembeault is 28 years old. I don't think Sam Montembeault is an everyday, legit, number one goaltender. He's a good goaltender. I think he's a serviceable 1A kind of netminder. Someone that can play, that 40 to 50 game kind of window, but needs a very good, high caliber goalie to help him shoulder the burden of being the one of the two goaltenders for 82 games, right? Like, in a perfect world, I think Sam Montembeault would have been great as a Boston Bruin. You know, like the Linus Ullmark, Jeremy Swayman kind of situation. I think that's the world Sam Montembeault would excel in the best. I mean, shit, we saw it here with Jake Allen. Take Jake Allen out of the picture, kind of restructure your defense and reorganize your defense, and we're left with the result of the Canadiens winless in 5, Sam Montembeault's save percentage under 900, and the defense is a work in progress. And yeah, I'm okay with all of that stuff because my expectation barely got off the ground floor for the Montreal Canadiens this season. But I start to understand, I think, a little bit more clearly today why some Canadian fans in this market have been so reactionary when it comes to the head coach and what exactly is going on. Because I still get the perception from being outside the room, not around the team, that my perception is the Canadiens are a together team. I think they like each other. I think they like going to work together. And I believe they like playing for Martin St. Louis. I believe that. But here's the question. What's happened to the inspiration? Martin St. Louis, in my opinion, had a lot of things going for him when he was named new coach. And the top thing, I believe, that allowed him to have this kind of freedom outside of his credentials as being a Hall of Famer and a Stanley Cup champ is his relatability. I think Martin St. Louis is exceptionally relatable as it relates to his underdog journey, being a smaller forward and persevering through all of that, being a Vermont Catamount, being undrafted, all the way to him becoming a Stanley Cup champ and being enshrined into hockey's Hall of Fame. And now he's behind the bench when all he knew from coaching was listening to a coach and then coaching up his kids in Connecticut at Pee Wee. That's what Martin St. Louis knows about coaching. And he comes here with this breath of fresh air, what I believed was a modern approach to the game, a modern way of communicating to the game. I also don't think that he's going to take shit from the media or the fans, and that his resume speaks for itself and he can walk into any room with his chest out and his head held high because he's Martin bleeping St. Louis. And his playing career, his hockeydb.com page speaks for itself and gets instant respect. And he had all that going for him, and he still does. But I wonder, where's the inspiration? Like, we've spoken consistently through 14 games. Why are they so slow out of the gate? Where's the jam? Where's the pace? Honestly, if I asked you that a year ago, did you think 1 year from now we would be asking out loud in public without getting laughed out of any room that the team is lacking inspiration, that the team is lacking punch, the team is lacking jump? That is a little bit of a red flag for me. And I'm still on the MSL bandwagon. I still like him. I still think he's all of those things: relatable, modern, excellent communicator, philosopher, approachable. All of those things I believe still exist today. But the team is, I believe, having a hard time grasping all of this in real time while trying to have their cake and eat it too. And by that, I mean be competitive, put on some wins, have some good veteran players on the team that produce, and then try to be in the mix, right? Not in the mix. It's 5 winless games in a row. And I do see some red flags. I do wonder about the inspiration, and I do wonder about, is this team, in my eyes, getting better defensively? Because I'll bring it back to the main topic at hand today. What is the biggest issue causing the Montreal Canadiens frustrations, causing them to have the biggest goal differential in hockey today? The Montreal Canadiens are a minus 19 in goals for, goals against. And last night, New Jersey scores 2 in the first period and leaves the period with a 2-0 lead. And I thought when New Jersey had a power play to start the second, I said, oh my God, they're going to score a third goal, and it is on. The romp is on. And I was happy to be proven wrong. That the team showed some character, showed some fight, showed some pushback, and what I thought was a pretty fun game to watch. But the biggest issue remains the lack of picking up a teammate who has left their position. It is habitual this season. And I choose to believe in my heart of hearts that as fiery as MSL was as a player, it has to drive him up the wall to see guys who have played hockey at a high level their entire lives completely abandon fundamental positioning sometimes. It's why you see so many odd man rushes. It's why the Montreal Canadiens have the worst goal differential in hockey. It's part of the reason why Montreal has conceded. Are you ready for this? 14 games, the Canadiens have conceded 20 goals in the first period. 20 goals in first period of games this season. And it happens all the time. They get scored on first all the time. And now you're chasing the game. You're trying to wonder about, man, if I make a mistake, is the teammate going to bail me out? Is my goalie going to bail me out? Yada, yada, yada. So you have not only the compounded effect of the team losing, chasing, and then the psychology comes into play about mentally thinking about, man, we're down 2-0 to New Jersey. They've been on this ride before, and they know what it's like when they get off. They throw up on themselves. Remember that? So that's where we're at. The Canadiens are sometimes, I believe, in their own head. They play a tight game. They want to win. They want to be competitive. You think these guys, want people like me and everybody else that observes and has a points of view on the Canadiens to be talking about how they lack punch? Where's the jump? That they talk such a big game all fall, and then the season begins, and this is where we're at. I promise you, they don't like any of it whatsoever. So the comments are starting to come in. Thanks as always. I don't know what's happened. Eric Macramella was scheduled to join me today, but listen, this man is a high-powered broker. Eric Macramella is a partner at a massive law firm, and I love all the things he has to say on the Montreal Canadiens all the time. And we were scheduled to be on live at 11. I waited a couple of minutes, and I sent him a text message letting him know that I'm going to start without you. Join whenever. And that hasn't happened yet. And so I've left the invitation open, but I haven't seen him pop up on the screen. So I'm happy to be here with you as always. And the comments are coming in. Joe Boozer, what up, Joe? The team just sucks. Horrible veterans. So let's expand on that. I'm glad you brought up veterans, Joe. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the comment. Brendan Gallagher is on 6 goals, on pace for 30 this season. Josh Anderson. I get it. Alex Newhook doubled his goal production in one game. He's on 4 goals after scoring a deuce last night. And looked a little bit better, right? You want to go down the list a little bit? David Savard plays 19 minutes a game. You really don't see David Savard factor in too much. And outside of that, what are we talking about? Yoel Armia? Christian Dvorak? Like, the question I would have for anybody that is critical of the veterans on this team, right? Like, what did we expect? To answer my own question, I think I expected a little bit more from Christian Dvorak, but I got to be honest. Like, I didn't expect much. They're a bad face-off team, fundamentally. Just a bad face-off team across the board, So they're not doing the small things right. They're not doing the bigger things right. The big picture, right? Cole Caulfield's goals have dried up after scoring, 10 and 11 games. It's been a bit of a lull. So this brings me to Nick Suzuki, because I want to talk about the captain for a minute or two. I don't know what you think of 14 on the Canadiens. I don't know what your ceiling talk about Nick Suzuki with your friends and wonder about the Canadiens captain and can he do this? Can he do that? Will he do this? Will he do that? I don't know. But my read on Nick Suzuki is this. He's had a very bad stretch of 3 games to start the month of November. I think that is undeniable. He's, I think, averaging a shot a game per game over his last 3 games and doesn't have really any points. And before November hit, he had called himself out and he needed to be better. And even though he was hovering around a point a game, but he was finding Cole Caulfield, and Caulfield was shooting at a 30% clip, and everything was going in, and everything was fine. And yet Nick Suzuki still felt like he could be better. And that, to me, that's a leader. That takes character. That's someone that I think sees what we see, and that just because points are on the board, what's the context of the points? And so Nick Suzuki called himself out and started to play better and started to produce more, right? To the point where I think he had points in 5 straight games and had picked up, I think, 8 points over a 5-game stretch. And look good. Picked up points and losses, picked up points and wins. When the Canadiens swept the weekend, right? They beat the Blues, they beat the Flyers. He had 4 points on that weekend and was starting to produce and look better in that role. And then it's dried up, right? And you have some that look at the cap that says, this guy gets paid like he's supposed to produce at a really high level, at a superstar level. And that's true. He makes $8 million a year, and there's a certain expectation that comes with making all that money. But when it comes to Nick Suzuki, here's my defense of the Canadiens captain to, I think, explain why 14 hasn't been that good, and certainly in New Jersey last night, at times looked like he wasn't even on the ice. You're looking for your line mates all the time, and you're looking for consistency. And in a way, we're kind of blaming Kirby Dach, aren't we? Because if you listen to me on TSN 690 over the course of this past summer, one of the main points I kept bringing up again and again and again and again, and now I start to see people write about it. I start to see people pop up with that take a little bit more today. But I brought this up in the early summer. Kirby Dach is the biggest X factor on the Montreal Canadiens, and it's not even close. If Kirby Dach can hit as a number 2 center, the Montreal Canadiens rebuild, I think, goes in the fast lane. If Kirby Dach can't catch on over a large sample size at being the number 2 center on the Montreal Canadiens, I think we're close to being back at square one. Because where is that number 2 center coming from? A transaction? Who? If the Canadiens have any idea of landing a true top 6 center, they are going to have to give up a lot. Ken Hughes is on the record as saying he has no appetite to do anything like that. But as Mike Tyson told us, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And I'm not saying Nick Suzuki has been punched in the face yet, but Kirby Dach is a winger. Kirby Dach is playing on the wing. And this is a problem for the Montreal Canadiens rebuild. So I'm not going to repeat myself because you know what I just said. He has to be the number 2 center. If not, I think we're taking 2 steps back. But if he can be that guy, all right, now we're cooking with gas. So I don't know if they're in a catch-22 or not with Kirby Dach. Can you get Kirby Dach going by playing him on the wing where he feels more comfortable and maybe more free to produce, but then you slot him back at center, and does the mojo disappear? Or do you force feed him down the middle, hope that he produces, hopes that he makes his line mates better, and we're hunky-dory, good to go? Because now you've got Kirby Dach in the wing, you've moved Juraj Slafkovsky off that top line, and now Nick Suzuki is suffering. Cole Caulfield's goals have dried up a little bit, and when the top line goes, we know secondary scoring is an issue here. So, yes, in a roundabout way, we're looking at 77, and like, this team needs you, man. This team needs you to be better, like now. And so I'm kind of with kid gloves when it comes to the Canadiens captain, because I don't think it's an excuse. I think it's a reason. So when Nick Suzuki goes to work, one day he looks at his line mate. Oh, there's Juraj. Goes to work the next day, he looks at his line mate and goes, hey, Emil Heineman, cool. Goes to work the next day. Oh, Kirby, what's up, bro? Goes to work the next day. It's Josh Anderson. Goes to work the next day. It's somebody else. So you see what I'm saying? It's not so easy. It's not so easy as just to lace up the skates, get dressed, hit the ice. Your line mates are who your line mates are, and you're good to go. It doesn't work that way. To be, I guess, harsh, Nick Suzuki isn't a good enough player to be that guy where it's plug and play with any of his line mates. Ça marche pas de même. I am convinced of that. In my heart of hearts, I am convinced of that. So, yes, maybe it's a cop-out, whatever. I am a Canadiens fan. I want this team to win. I want this team to do well. I want this team back in the Holy Land of Stanley Cup parades in downtown Montreal every year. want to be, part of that generation that gets to experience something like that. And I really haven't. I'm 46 years old. I haven't experienced anything close to that with this team. So I'm passionate about this team and I'm ready, while also understanding here's the ugly side of a rebuild and that this team and their front office and some fans looked at the group collectively and said, wow, okay, they're going to be much better. They're going to be in the mix. They're going to be in the mix. Taking a few steps back. Thanks for watching, everybody. Oh, is my sound terrible today? So let me address that here. Thank you, Vito, for watching. Let me address that quickly here. In the Car with Stars going to the next level. And by that, I mean, I've decided to spend some money. I've decided to invest in some tech. So I don't know how much this is of interest to anybody, but everything that I do here, I do pretty much on my own. I film and record myself on my iPhone 16 Pro Max. And let me tell you something, it's a pain in the ass to edit. It's a pain in the ass to upload. It's a pain in the ass to do all that. So that's why I do this. I do this live. Like some other podcasts or whatever that go and they record and they do 4 or 5 takes and produce it and put it together. This is live, 100% on direct. And so I got AirPods. And sometimes they cut in and out. And I know the sound isn't great. And it drives me crazy. As a radio guy, it drives me crazy. So I spent some time yesterday and I got myself a pretty good quality microphone. And I got myself a webcam. Oh, yeah. We're going to get nice and saucy in here. We're going to get a nice little webcam going. And I'm going to use my wife's laptop so I can get off this bleeping phone and get back to my Windows PC world that I'm very comfortable in. And I promise you, we will sound much, much better, consistently better, starting next week. Okay, so I apologize, Vito, and everybody else, that I am cutting in and out. My shitty AirPods on my iPhone with an iPhone stand and everything else. So I apologize for that. Joe Boozer. What's up, Joe? I agree with what you said on the veterans. Thank you, Joe. Rick Spaghetti. Always nice to hear from you, Rick. You can always chime in here. Coaching staff. St. Louis, Robida, Trevor Letowski, all understand players who had long NHL careers against all odds. It's interesting because with the Canadiens, when they talk about the different voices, as Rick writes about around the team, that this team knows, man. These are hockey lifers, man. These are hockey lifers. I told you last time earlier this week, I really do believe that this is what the ugly side of a rebuild is. This is what happens when I think executives get a little excited and maybe overshoot their estimations. And it's another detailed point about just how hard playing high-level hockey truly is. And when you're learning on the job, sometimes you get exposed and you see a team like the team they lost to last night with a guy like Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, their captain, who's on 10 goals too. Like, they're layered, they're fast. And you see the difference between having good players, well-rounded players, star players, to Jack Hughes, who is a superstar talent-wise. I mean, he's so fast. He's like a water bug. Like, he just zips all over the place, man. You're just caught watching. And the Canadiens don't have a player like that. They just don't. They don't have that level of player. And maybe you need to hear this again. The heart of the Montreal Canadiens rebuild is Lane Hudson, Juraj Slafkovsky, David Reinbacher, Ivan Demidov, and Jacob Fowler. And with aging veterans, when those 5 guys are all hitting, Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. Those 7 players, to me, Caden Gooley, let's make it 8. Let's not forget that. Logan Mailloux, let's make it 9. Those are the guys that either get this team to where I think you, I, and everybody else wants them to be, and that's as close to the promised land, if not thriving in the promised land, as humanly possible. And that's the burden those players, in my opinion, are going to have to shoulder. And I don't know if Martin St. Louis is going to be that guy to see it all the way through. But I'll tell you this, as much confidence as I think some people still have in the rebuild and the plan, don't let the few voices distract you. Because sometimes the few sound like the many, and that's not the case. That Martin St. Louis is a winner. And Martin St. Louis, I believe, still acts and behaves and thinks like a winner. And when you have columnists coming out suggesting that he's going to walk away from the team, that he's going to resign, that this isn't for him because Martin is a winner and all he knows is winning and now they're losing, that is not how winners think. And I believe that if you have that opinion about a guy like Martin St. Louis, know what winning is, brother. You really don't. Because in my experience, talking to pro athletes, high-level performers in business, they're hardwired to embrace and run towards challenges, not shy away and run away from challenges. And Martin St. Louis embraces challenges. Guys like Martin St. Louis, who scale the heights that he scaled in his athletic career, they love being told, nope, you can't do that. I don't believe in you. Okay? But, as they say, talk is cheap. Time to show. Time to start showing. And I believe in the last couple of games, we've seen more jam, better starts. Just need to tighten up those fundamentals. And when you see a teammate leave a position, Lane Hudson gets a little too adventurous, you got to make sure you're watching 48 or whoever it is that vacates a position, that your hockey IQ and your brain is wired to pick that person up. Because the small mistakes that the Montreal Canadiens make habitually are costing them hockey games and costing them points and costing them confidence. And it's creating a distraction to Montreal. To me, that is what our headline on the podcast is today. What is the biggest issue plaguing the Montreal Canadiens that they need to overcome immediately? And that is the execution of fundamental hockey. Picking up a teammate. And it cost the Montreal Canadiens a hockey game yesterday. And shit, they should have beat Calgary too. Not for the offside goal from Josh Anderson when they scored shorthanded there. But those are the lumps you take when you're a rebuilding hockey team. Isn't that the fact? So thank you all for watching us today. I want to give a shout out quickly to my friends at Royal Ceramic and royalceramic.com. Fine importer of porcelain tiles in large formats. And of course, if you're looking at a home renovation, kitchen, bathroom to be precise, I want you to think of my friends at Royal Ceramic and royalceramic.com in St. Leonard. Open 6 days a week. That includes Saturday as well. And their kitchens imported directly from Italy, from the very affordable to the ultra high end. So whatever your budget is, Royal Ceramic, royalceramic.com have the designers, the installers, the product, all in-house, and they can take care of all your budgetary needs. So go check them out. Support me by supporting Royal Ceramic and royalceramic.com. So thank you for watching. I certainly appreciate it. We'll be back, and we will be back sounding better next week. Microphone, webcam, nude shows. No, I'm kidding. No nude shows. Nobody needs to see this. Nobody needs to see this without any clothes on. It's a borderline offensive with clothes on. Can you imagine sans vêtements? I promise you, I spare you. I spare you the horror. Halloween's over, everybody. But we're going to be back next week. We're going to be back next week with a microphone, a laptop, webcam, better sound, better quality. For In the Car with Star, baby. We'll see you. Have a great weekend.